All praises to Anoki said, whose loving kindness to us. His elect, his chosen, his choice, his priesthood, his elect, and his people that don't lie in his name. Who are Israelites, Yasharallah. I come in the name of truth. His name is Yahweh, who's also called the Word of God, who's also the spirit of prophecy. And I prophesy in the truth through his precepts in his name. With Luke 10:19 and 20 amplified message and ISRV version, prophecy, which is Melchizedek priesthood power. Today's topic. And God to wipe away all their trails of tears. Numbers 23:9, Amplified Bible Classic Edition. God is not a man that he should tell or act a lie. He is a man. And I'm the God that's reading this to you. But I ain't lying. If anybody calls themselves a prophet of God or already of God who's called to be a prophet of God, and say that they read from the scriptures and tell a lie, they need to kill your bitch. Taking God's name in vain while failing to keep the law of this gospel. God is a man. Have you never read I'm God? Have you never read you're a God? But if he's lying to you now, you're not a prophet of God. Because God don't tell lies, neither does his man. I won't. Especially if you're reading from the book of the law of God, the law of God, sometimes you're going to lie. Talking about you don't tell lies, but you're reading the scripture and lying. You're a goddamn liar. In his name. All you gotta do is read the precepts, man. You ain't gotta put your own spin in it. The precepts speak for itself. Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Lying. Ain't nowhere in the scripture where it says that. Of course, it's byword, but then I didn't know how to study, and I've been listening to other Latinos speak. And then all this morning, this day, they was all saying they all Europeans. Then they play games with words, and they say stuff like Afro-Latino or Afro-Mexican. So I went to put another word in there. I put Euro-African, a Euro-Mexican, Euro-Latino, and what popped up? Oh, they're Europeans. So stop playing games. Especially you don't lie in God's name. Your job is to tell the truth. Preach the truth whether they accept it or not. As long as they heard it. Then their blood not going to be in your hand. I'm not lying to you. Your blood ain't going to be in my hands. I don't prove it on evidence. Numbers 23 and 19, Amplified Bible Classic Edition. Guess what? I don't hate nobody because of who they are, but don't be lying telling you're Israelite. You're not. Just be who you are. You're gonna pay the price for being that too, because you're a colonizer. And that's why they're gonna pay the price, but these lying Israelites gonna pay the price too. Lying in God's name. Numbers 23 and 19, Amplified Bible Classic Edition. God's not a man that he should lie. God's not a man that should act or tell a lie. Class act lawsuit 7. Neither the Son of Man to tell lies. They should feel repentance and compunction. Why? Because I ain't told no lies. For what he has promised. He said, and shall he not do it? Be a doer of the word, not a hearer, and don't tell no lies about it. Has he said, and shall he not do it? Or has he spoken and shall not make it good? Going to a document called Official Map and Guide, Lord, it says a Trail of Tears. Let me go to this page, let you know why. They always talk about the Cherokees. The One Word Terrians, page 32, written by James W. Lee as a tool. The Cherokee were the real Romans. They were all of the Greco-Roman architecture and the Cherokee Gothic architecture in the Americas. This map of 1810 shows New World and New and Old California and lands and vast lands of Louisiana purchased allegory. They didn't purchase it, they stole it. But that's why they always call it the Cherokees. Why? That's them. And the MORs that helped them. This is the Choctaw land of Ephraim. Church of the firstborn. Still true. Trail of Tears was also on Michael's land, because Michael was still Ephraim, still Judah. Just like Yahweh, from the root of Jesse, still the tribe of Judah, still but Ephraim. Trail of Tears, National Historical Trail, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, Illinois, Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. The government might more mercifully have put to death everyone under a year or over 60. Rather, it had chosen the most expensive and painful way of exterminating these poor people. Cherokee Nation. A traveler to the southern Appalachians realizes that something is missing from the forested mountains, cascading streams. The people who once lived here no longer work the land or hunt the forest. Their spirits remain and their languages on the landscape, but most of them are gone. Where did they go? Do they survive? The answer are on the Trail of Tears. These poor people. That's the key word. But yet you're rich. In the 1600s, about 25,000 Cherokee lived on the land stretching from Ohio River to northern Georgia. The European diseases devastated the Cherokees throughout the 1700s. Why are they talking about the Cherokees? Why are the Cherokees? If of all these nations was here, so the 5 civilized nations was here, why are the Cherokees so important? Oh, they Romans. That's their, just like the blacks come from Africa. So they stick to lies that have their storyline. Yeah, blacks do come from Africa. Called Hamites. The Shemites, what they call Indian African Americans, color all these bywords, Americans, the American Israelites. We don't come from Africa. American Israelite. I'm American Israelite. When I was a Joseph tribe, even Ross King David restored. Oh, we had people over in Africa, but they don't come from Africa. They was taken there in slavery. Still they endured. It says, But the European diseases devastated the Cherokees throughout the 1700s. Oh, what? Were they more than Cherokees? Why are you saying Cherokees? Oh, because they're the MORs that helped you, and they're the Romans like you. That's your storyline. By 1819, America's unquenchable thirst for land and had whittled away Cherokee lands. They weren't Americans either. It was the Europeans. It was the Spaniards and the Britons, among other colonizers. Down to 10% of their original territory. Still they endured. Cherokee's sacred fire, rekindled each spring in the new fire ceremony and the source of every home fire, shown by unified Cherokee nation, adopting many of the political and economic features of the United States. You just told me yourself. Made yourself naked. Adopting many of the political and economic features of the United States, not America. They drafted a constitution, established their own courts, created a written language as a symbol of, wait a minute, you came over here and did that, right? Okay. So when there's already a constitution here, before you got it? Oh, constitution of, see. Oh, that's what y'all read. All right. I'm following it. I ain't doing it, but I'm following the storyline because I improved on it. A symbol of their revival, their newspaper was named the Cherokee Phoenix, after the mystical bird reborn of fire. The Cherokee people had a shaped stable of prosperous life, won and envied by their white neighbors. Removal Act. From the time Europeans arrived in the New World, they struggled with how to live alongside native people. Nation 03 Thomas Jefferson became the first president to publicly support moving Indians, Negroes, who are really the Israelites. And for the next 25 years, Eastern tribes were forced west. Some of the Cherokees, known as the Old Settlers, moved west on their own to distance themselves from the expanding American Republic. They're not Americans, they are colonizers. And so are the Cherokees. These ones they're talking about anyway. Events accelerated after Andrew Jackson was elected president in 1828. In 1830, Congress passed the Indian Removal Act, providing for an exchanging of lands with the Indians residing in any of the states or territories, and for the removal west the river Mississippi, that's the Nile River. They talk about in the Bible, the Mississippi River. Meanwhile, the state of Georgia, home of the Cherokee, passed laws prohibiting them from conducting tribal business, testifying against whites and mining for gold. Oh, that's color of law. The Cherokee Nation, though, had produced leaders well versed in the U.S. legal system, leaders who fought back in Worcester versus Georgia in the Supreme Court, headed by Chief Justice John Marshall, ruled in 1832 that the Cherokee held sovereign land rights. President Jackson openly dismissed the ruling. The Cherokees were running out of options. The gathering storm on the heels of the Indian Removal Act, government agents, they're not a government, descended on the southeastern native people. One by one, the tribes were removed. Agents coerced Choctaw chiefs in Mississippi to sign the first removal treaty. Why did they go to Choctaw and Cherokee? Why did they coerce him or force the Choctaw chief to sign something if the Cherokees was in charge? Agents coerced Choctaw chiefs Mississippi to sign the first removal act treaty. Why did they go to Choctaw? Why did they go to the Cherokee side? Why did they go to the Choctaw chief and force him to sign the first removal treaty? Can you see the lies, deceptions? If the Cherokee was in control, they'd have had them do it. But why did they go agents coerce Choctaw chief in Mississippi to sign the first removal treaty? In late 1831, the tribe was quickly moved to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. The corporation caused that government removed the most Muskegee, Greeks, Creeks like it, many in chains, from Alabama and Georgia to Indian Territory by 1836. Where was that? Oklahoma. I already told you both my grandfathers, one came from Louisiana and one came from Oklahoma. My grandma's come from Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. The corporation called the government removed most Muskogee Creeks, many in chains, from Alabama and Georgia to Indian Territory by 1836. Seal portion. Chapter 8, let's go 84 first. Let me read the header again. Seal portion, chapter 84, the header reads, the discovery and formation of the United States as the seat of Satan, which is the corporation. These people that had coerced this Choctaw chief to sign the first removal treaty. Coerced. Was and further condemned as the wickedness of the political leaders. The American Indians, Indian misnomer Israelites, are gentle and peaceful at first, to defend themselves. Still portion 85 and 21, and now I, Moroni, also have great cause to sorrow, because those things that I read concerning these things which had come to pass among the Lamanites, who are the American Israelites, that was already here. Also among the people of dark skin who shall be brought into this promised land in chains. They might serve the lust and the greed of those rich colonizers. The corporation, the synagogue of Satan, that's what I'm calling it. The synagogue of Satan removed most Muskogee Creeks, many in chains. Alabama and Georgia to Indian Territory by 1836. The Chickasaw, whose homeland had once stretched from Tennessee to Arkansas, and Illinois, were taken away by the end of 1837. The Seminoles fiercely resisted removal from their Florida homeland, but after great losses in the Seminole Wars, some 4,000 people were deported to Indian Territory by 1842. The Cherokee resisted removal and looked to their leaders to sway American political opinion. Well, synagogue of Satan political opinion. Still, 20 tribal members, led by Major Reed and acting outside the authority of the Cherokee government, signed the Treaty of New Eckerto in 1835. The conditions for removal were set. In exchange for $5 million, and the tribe would relocate to Indian Territory. Though the majority of Cherokee protested the agreement, by May 1836, Congress made it law. That's a color of law. And guess what? That's why they said Cherokee, while most of them is $5 Indians. This is a big old scam. By May 1836, Congress made it law. There's color law, the legislative mandate is not law. The treaty gave the Cherokee 2 years to voluntarily move. The fix was in. Can't you see it? Cherokee Trails of Tears. Most Cherokee refused to recognize the Treaty of New Ekato. Few had moved after 2 years. In the spring of 1838, 7,000 soldiers under General Winfield Scott moved against the Cherokee Nation. The removal effort began in Georgia, where Cherokee families were uprooted and driven, sometimes at bayonet point, to round up camps, then consecrated in larger removal camps. In June, the Army loaded. Wait a minute, why are you only talking about Cherokees? And you're not talking about the Choctaw Nation that you forced their chief to sign the first treaty. Oh, I know, because they Romans. The fix is in. In June, the Army loaded Cherokee onto flatboats to travel to Tennessee, Ohio, Mississippi, and Arkansas rivers to Indian Territory. The first boat reached its goal in 13 days, but desertion and fatalities plagued the next two groups. Diseases raged through the cramped, poorly supplied boats. To save his people, Principal Chief John Ross petitioned General Scott to let the Cherokee control their own removal. Ross organized a detachment of about 1,000 each. The Cherokee traveled by foot, horse, and wagon for 800 miles, taking up to 8 months to reach Indian Territory. Despite prearranged supply points, they suffered terribly during the horror winter. See how they set it up on. Wait, what about all the other nations? These Israelite tribes. Why are you talking about Cherokee? Page 32, one for Totarians. The Cherokee were the real Romans. They built all of the Greco-Roman architecture and the Cherokee Gothic architecture in the Americas. This map of 1810 shows New and Old California and lands of vast lands of Louis S. Purchased allegory. Despite prearranged supply points, they suffered terribly during the horror winter of about 15,000 Cherokee forced from their homes. Many hundreds died in the camps on the journey. See how they painting the picture? And then that's why they got on the dollar roll, $5. Most High said in Isaiah. $65. 11 through 16. Isaiah 65, 11 through 16, King James Version. But you are they who forsake Yahweh, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for their truth. See, oh man. Can't you see what God is reading? Fit that what they need, pre-prepared. But you are that they that forsake Yahweh, that forget my holy mountain Zion, the true children of Israelites, of my priesthood. And you curse the Choctaw chief to force him to sign something. That's null and void. That prepare a table for that truth. They furnish the drink offering unto that number. Therefore will I number you to the sword. You shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, you did not answer. When I spake, you did not hear. But it's evil before my eyes. To choose that wherein I delighted not. Therefore, thus says Jehovah God, behold, my sons and daughters shall eat, but you shall go hungry. You should be hungry. But my sons and daughters shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. But my sons and daughters shall rejoice, but you shall be ashamed. You make yourself naked. Behold, my sons and daughters shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. You shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen. For Yahweh God shall slay you, and call their sons and daughters by another name. Their right name, Israelites. I'm an American Israelite. House of Joseph, tribe of Ephraim, king of David restored. And whosoever bless himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth. He that swear in the earth shall swear by the God of truth. Because the former troubles of a God, they're hid from my eyes. In June, back to that document. In June, the Army loaded Cherokee onto flatboats that traveled the Tennessee, Ohio, Mississippi, or Arkansas River to Indian Territory in Oklahoma. The first boat reached its goal in 13 days, but desertations and fatalities plagued the next two groups. Diseases raged through the camp, poorly supplied boats. Save his people, Principal Chief John Ross petitioned General Scott to the Cherokee control that can Cherokee control their own removal. Ross organized detachments of about 1,000 each, and the Cherokee traveled by foot, horse, and wagon for 800 miles, taking up to 8 months to reach Indian Territory despite prearranged supply points. They suffered terribly during the hard winter. About 15,000 Cherokee forced from their homes. Many hundreds died in the camps around the journey. The Cherokee nation remained alive, though. Or why not mention other tribes? After a while, you said they were civilized. Why you let them leave on their own accord? The Cherokee nation remained alive, though. The spirits of the people and the ashes saved from the sacred fire they carried along the trail. A nation renewed, weak and traumatized, 17 detachments of Cherokee arrived in the Indian Territory in 1838 and 1839. The treaty strife and the horse removal had also divided the Cherokee into three factions: pro-treaty, anti-treaty, and old settlers. Despite the political discord, the Cherokee reconstructed their lives in 1839. Delegates signed a constitution. Wait a minute. 1839, 1492, 1592, 1692, 1792, 1839, almost got to 1892. That means that's another constitution. Oh, that's the Constitution of Satan, a Freemason. Wow, before that, they already really had one, Constitution of the United States of American Israelites. Despite the political discord at Adam Creek, Adam Creek don't discord, but they Constitution of Satan did. The Cherokee reconstructed their lives. In 1739, delegates signed a constitution. The tribe re-elected John Ross as principal chief in Tallahassee, Tallahassee, become the Cherokee capital. In 1844, the Cherokee Supreme Court building. Page 2, Mortarians. This dovetails the creation of Trilateral New Order Trilateral Commission, NWO, founding of the Vatican, City of London, and Washington, D.C. City of London, financial. The city was divided into 3 parts. City of London, financial. The Vatican, religion. Washington, D.C., military. The United States is defined as a federal corporation under U.S. Code 302, sections 14 and 15. The Virginia Company returned to the United States during the non-recurring Revolutionary War by the Freemasonic founding fathers who were serving the Grand Lodge of England. The Virginia Company was issued by the British non-royal family and impostors from the City of London Corporation. Who are the real residents here? For North American settlements. In 1213, King John surrendered the Kingdom of England to the Holy See under the Golden Bull, dumb the version of Dr. Discovery. In 1215, under direct papal authority, King John issued the Magna Carta, Latin for Great Charter, that established 1 square mile block called the City of London Corporation. What's that? D.C. District of Columbia. As a sovereign entity, and they can't be sovereign. That was a fraud. From England and London. The Holy See uses Latin for official documents, and the Vatican uses Latin as an official language. Novus Ordo Seclorum is Latin and translates to New Order of the Ages. And on the United States Great Seal and the United States $1 bill was an oxymoron. Washington, D.C. is located in both Virginia and Maryland. That is Virginia, Maryland. D.C. was originally called Rome in 1669, which is stated in the Catholic Encyclopedia. D.C. is a Roman architecture that the Cherokee built. The real Romans. D.C. is District of Columbia is a Roman architecture. The Capitol Hill is named after the Capitol Lion Hill in Rome. The ancient Roman fasces symbol is all over federal buildings and federal seals. The federal corporation called itself a government is based on the Roman Republic, which is a fascist empire. Roman fascists, where the word fascist comes from, they had bundled cannon rods and asked for anyone who disagreed with Roman law was not law. Legislation and mandates is not law. Colonna family ceremonially ruled over Capitol Lion Hill, which represented political power of Rome, corporate empire. The column symbolized the political support They maintain their claim to governmental land ownership, and that's fraud. They compensate this, they get it all back by necessity through probate. To me, the children of Israel who repent. Lights, not Israelis. That's right now. Washington, D.C. is a Roman architecture and has the Roman fascist symbol all over U.S. federal buildings and U.S. seals. Fascism means a centralization of power. Capitol Hill is named after Capitoline Hill in Rome. The NWO also rewrote his story during the revision of his story during the epic reset between the mid-1800s and 1930s. Record Hauptjugen David Rockefeller, also known as the Rothschilds, Red Shield, began many stories of the Big Bang, evolution, and his flash story of religious myth created from the Vatican, based on what I just read to you again, over all world religion. And the core Hauptjugen were and are the Ashkenazi Jewish people, not Israelites, who are conscripted by the Vatican to be allowed to make all the money and all the fame, as long as the Vatican, Jesuits, and 13 satanic bloodlines were provided with information and power. The Vatican set up confessionals for the same purpose and runs a worldwide spook agency called the Entity, which owns and controls all major spy agencies, including the CIA, NSA, MI6, Mossad, etc. This is all a part of their one world order, stated on the Latin on the back of the US dollar bill. The Cherokee into three factions. City of London, financial. The Vatican, religion. Washington, D.C., military. That's why you got people like Todd Rive who tell you, well, you got to be a part of the order and Freemasons. And he represents their flag of Satan, telling the people of God bullshit and make them think they Islam. They came from the Vatican. They created that. All world religion. By their own page, I read it to you before. See, they're all Confederate. A nation renewed, weak, and traumatized, 17 detachments of Cherokee arrived in Indian Territory in 1838. In 1839, the treaty strife and the harsh removal had also divided the Cherokee into three factions: pro-treaty, anti-treaty, and old settlers. Despite the political discord, the Cherokee reconstructed their lives in September 1839. Delegates signed a constitution. The tribe re-elected John Ross as principal chief, and Tahlequah became the Cherokee capital. 1844, the Cherokee Supreme Court building opened its door. The Cherokee Advocate, a bilingual newspaper, began publication. Bilingual? What's it bilingual for? If you got people speaking the same tongue, there's already here. By 1846, the three factions had signed a treaty that addressed many of their differences. The second fire of the Cherokee Nation burned again. Meeting other challenges as they rebuilt their nation. The Cherokee proved resilient in the ensuing years. Today, the Cherokee and other removed tribes endure vigorous Indian nations. The Trail of Tears story is one of racial injustice, intolerance, and suffering. This is also a story of survival, of people striving in the present while remembering the past, not only in Oklahoma, but the homelands of Southern Appalachia. That's America. Carolina, Guadalupe. Map caption. Far left, lands of Cherokee people were steadily reduced to 100 years before their removal. Photo caption. Left, Sequoia, George Gist, completed in 86 character Cherokee syllabary. Photo caption above, the newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix, was bilingual. American Antiquarian Society. What you need bilingual? Oh, they some colonizers. Did the Cherokee land transferred in 1832 to a white settler in Georgia's land lottery? Artwork caption. Center left, Andrew Jackson, president of 1829 to 37, was determined to remove the southern and eastern tribes, U.S. Senate. Artwork caption. Left, John Ross, Cherokee principal, chief of 1828 through 1666. Let me look at what John Ross did. Yeah, he looked like a Latino or a Spaniard. John Ross, Cherokee chief. They got another one. He looked like a European, not an Indian. They got another one, he's like a straight European. Now they playing games. They took down the other one, and now they're gonna give me some other information that I don't care. That's how these devils do. But you already know laws. It don't matter what you do. So I open another browser to put the same information in, and now they're gonna change what was in an AI. You AI over the 2 yes. The Cherokee had several notable friends and allies in Congress. That's the same thing it said in the other one. We have to oppose the Indian Removal Act. They didn't oppose it. That's why they did. That's why they tried to change it. They was what we know about Congress so far. What they confess. These devils. They weren't opposing it. They was behind it. Solution with these models. It's currently forced for location the Trail of Tears. Key figures who have advocated for the Cherokee Nation included Henry Clay, a prominent senator and a former Speaker of the House. In Kentucky, he was leading figure in the National Republican Party, the vocal critic in Andrew Jackson's policies. Daniel Webster, a senator from Massachusetts, also a national Republican who spoke out against the Indian Removal Act. I doubt it. In the Majestic Treaty of New Ecotone. No, see, these are liars. Congress, what did Congress do based on what we've been doing? Make you slaves. Theodore Frelinghuysen, a senator from New Jersey who was fierce opponent to the removal bill. I'll put it like that. I believe I'd rather say it was for it than against it. These are liars. If they say they were the real Romans and they always talking about the Cherokees all the time, and they forced the Choctaw chief by coercion to sign something. I ain't seen no coercion about the Cherokee signing nothing. They left freely, willingly. Ambrose Spencer, a representative who also provided support for the Cherokee cause. These members of Congress, along with the U.S. citizens, because they're not Americans, particularly in the North, and Christian missionaries like Jeremiah Evarts and Samuel Worcester, engaged in significant public political battle against President Andrew Jackson's administration in the state of Georgia. Women also organized and sent petitions to Congress to protest the removal. I doubt it. I'm just saying what they're making themselves naked. This is AI saying this. And guess what? I just told you what I really read the first time. They blocked that and I had to open a new browser and they didn't let me read what was there first. And they opened another browser so they didn't change this. How you know it? Because they said the Cherokees were the real Romans. And you know, these devils ain't trying to help the children of Israel. That's why I'm putting it there what really happened. Ain't nothing under the sun. Spike it. And why would you block the first opening of what I had read in the first place and had to open a new browser? Because you changed it. Just that quick. Can you think people have seen you do this before? This is the first time you've done this. It's still evidence against you. You have a history of doing these things. I mean, recently, when I tell the people, I said I had to open up use L2 and then you block it. I had to close that, open another browser, and then you would change the information. Just that quick. You have a history of doing it, make yourself naked. Because you're devils. That's why I use AI as a tool, not the source. And I can change AI anytime to the truth against your lies at any time. Here's another one. They try to see. Let me take a picture so you show you what they do. It was showing a lot of information at first, right? Just like the other. I clicked on it. See, I don't care about the games they playing. Even if they even let nobody say it. You heard it. You seen what they've been doing. See that? They removed everything off the page just that quick. Now I have open another browser. And then they changed the information. Some devils, man. And they already been found guilty. And they still doing stuff. So then I had to open another browser and then they try to change the information. See, I always try to cut the video off, but I'm gonna show you this. I was watching Dane Calloway video, and look what I had to look at when they opened the screen to the right side. Why is that on the screen? Like Catwoman sucking a penis. She's a devil. What they got to do with Dan Calloway? Or what I'm looking up for research. These are devils, man. I didn't pull in them. And then they were talking about, like, I'm about the truth, right? Okay. So, like I told you, I'm not trying to discredit nobody. I'm just saying I'm revealing the truth. All these books, I've been looking at all these books I got right now, like Indians and different things, and they always run to Mexico. If that's the case, and you know, AI is a tool. Mexico was founded in 1821, 1492, 1592, 1692, 1792, and then 1821 before it got to 1842. But that means it got founded after they got here. So why are you using Mexico as a term for people that was already here? Oh, these devils. You next AI is a tool. And God ain't no place in the Bible say Mexico. Ain't no place in the Bible say Mexico. That's a term that they founded from New Spain to try to colonize. They come under it. That's why I said, okay, you gonna play that game? Afro Mexicans versus Euro Mexicans. Different people. And God didn't create no Mexicans. He didn't create no black people either. He created Israelites. So all these bywords prove who is who and who's not. Mexico was founded in 1821. I see the stuff out there shows you people. Why are they doing both these drastic measures that some already improved and they still trying to do it? Why would they still do these things? And I've improved everything already. Because they wicked. So Mexico was founded in 1821. Found is a verb one. Laid the basis of established. Old French founder, found, established, the bottom or foundation of something. Bottom founded. Fund, founded. And they didn't get it, they got it in 1492, right? So how you gonna found something that's already here when you got here? And you gonna found something else? Mexico was founded in 1821 as an independent nation after gaining its independence from Spain. Wait a minute. If you are the Spaniards and you weren't here first, then how you gonna found from 1821 and then how you gonna get independent from yourself? Initially a short-lived empire, it became a federal republic. That's why the federal republic, the federal allies come to pick you up tonight by ICE. Because they want you to District of Columbia. And you are also the founder of the UN. You AI too. Mexico has been an active and foundational member of the United Nations since 1945, playing a key role in the institutions and foreign policy. Foreign policy, not native. United States Corporation, see the London Corporation. This is Columbia, which aligns with UN principles. The country has constantly advocated for the UN as a central forum for solving global issues, contributing, not solving, causing them. Contributing to its budget, participating in various bodies like the Secretary Council, contributing to peacekeeping and operate, that's a lie. Founding member, Mexico is the founding member of the UN, joining in 1945. Key roles of Mexican delegate, Luis Padilla Nervo, served as president of the General Assembly for its sixth session. Security Council, Mexico has held a non-permanent seat in the Security Council 5 times and presided over 7 times. General Assembly, Mexico has served as the vice president of the General Assembly 7 times. Foreign policy and principles. Multilateralism. Mexico views the UN as a preeminent multilateral form of coercive solution to global problems. Alignment with UN Charter, meaning Mexico's foreign policy principles such as self-determination, peaceful dispute settlement, and prohibition of threat or use of force are reflected in the UN Charter. Human rights, the contrary, consistent, participating in the end and promotes human rights mechanism, has been a member of the UN Human Rights Council since January 1st, 2025. You know that's all lies, right? Who these all eat them? By Charles A. Wilder, page 86. When a nation becomes a member of the United Nations, it surrenders its sovereignty and independent status, and now becomes subject to international law of Edom. It's not free to decide its own destiny. Why am I on Mexico? Because this is where all these lies started from. The way you read the lies is tell the truth and read about it. You AI overviews the two, yes. The area that is now Mexico was the core territory of the Spanish colony called New Spain. New Spain was a vast territory ruled by Spain from the 16th to the 19th century that includes present-day Mexico, Central America and southwestern United States and the Philippines, all colonizers. Core territory, the conquest of the Aztec Empire. Well, if you conquest the Aztec Empire, how are you Aztec? You're not. Over to Terrence, page 86. Like 80, 78. Mexico is the original land of the American Negro, who is the Olmec, the Aztec, core territory, the conquest of the American Negro, Aztec Empire in 1521, colonized. Marked the beginning of the New Spain. Was now Mexico. See, Mexico came after they colonized it. Was the central and most important region. Mexico is the original land of the American Negro. Negro is a byword, the American Israelite. Who is the Olmec, the Aztec, the Toltec. In North America, he's the Eloquent, Choctaw, Washita, Pequot, Wampanoag, Lenape, Araucas, etc. The Spanish and the Portuguese captured and sold what they call Negro de Terra into European slave markets. The Dutch and English didn't even enter Africa until the late 1700s, yet slavery started in 1492. Columbus was a Portuguese MOR named Salvatore Ferdinand Zarco. That's why they took that down. Why? Because with the first part when I was going to read about Columbus, it said no, he was not a Moor. That's why they took that down. And I show you I show you the page they took down. Why? They be watching everything I'm doing. You know I was going to read this. But they already made it something negative. See, that's what they do. They play behind the scenes with the computer, stuff that you can't see, and I'm watching while they're doing it. But they don't. But they always make themselves naked. Why? They do it all the time, and you see what they're doing. Because I'll be showing you. And they already lost failed miserably, and they still try to do stuff. That's more injuries. I sent my son a whole list of everything he requested, whether it was them or not. But I sent it to my son. And they said, send me the list. And I did. I showed everything on that one for the whole month. So send it to me today. If not, that's still more injuries against me and him. Yeah, that's trying to steal people's persona. And you cannot do that. You already know who he is. It's not. It's no. He on the video himself one time. Tell you who he is. My son, American Israel. So message I sent. He said send it over. So I sent it. Oh, this. Everything else. Lord. Including some more, so my page is gonna be tore up. So I need to put things, plastic pages on over this my sealed portion, so they won't tear up anymore. Everything I request. Order. And they got to send it to me. And you can't get mad at them if you playing it. And you got to send it. Guaranteed. Like I said, fill up my refrigerator, my freezer, and my cabinets with olive oil in it. Like right now, I don't have no meat. First, I couldn't cook anyway, so I couldn't cook no potato. So I just gotta wait. The Sabbath day go down, then cook me some potato. But that's still a war crime against you. Because I ordered it yesterday, I should have it right by now. I already should have it. Not my son, you. And I approve this message because I ain't lying. God does too, and you have too by necessity. Start approving the law and evidence. It says the Negro is the Indian or copper colored indigenous people of the Americas, who is actually a redskin. Many think that black people are black. That's a misnomer. Yet, there are many shades of copper, which is the color of the earth. If you look in the old dictionaries, you'll see that nigger and Indian were not synonyms, and I proved that to you already. The color is simply short for copper color. Why do you think they keep changing our titles from Indian to Negro to color to African American to MUR? Negro is the most copied man on the earth, who is actually American Israelite. Israelites without the diaspora. Page 77, Mexico claims we are not Africans. The people they call African Americans was already here. The Spaniards did that as well as slaves. A total of 187,766. It says Africans, that's a lie. The who they call African Americans was already here, who were acting American Israelites was already here. Were poured into Mexico during the 300 years of the Spanish slave trade. Looking at the appearance of the modern Mexicans, it becomes clear that now that the now just made up, that is made up that number without any proof or evidence of the veracity of these claims. There's no way 186,766,000 black-skinned mongrels could be responsible for the pigmented side of well over a million light-skinned and dark-skinned mestizos. The American Negro, or Indian, or MUR, is the oldest known on earth. The oldest chromosome on the earth was found in a man from South Carolina. So related to African heritage. Oh yeah, know what they took down? Listen, let me make sure I won't lie. No, that's why I said I don't want to lie. use AI over the term Hamite is not outdated. How you gonna get rid of people? It's in the Bible. Ham, not the Negro. I'm gonna read what it says. The term Hamite is an outdated and discredited term for some groups of people in North and East Africa. It was historically used in a racial classification model developed by Europeans who applied it to people like ancient Egyptians. No, they changed it. They said the Europeans. Why? So that light and dark skin mestizos. See, these people, what they can do is they can change stuff with technology. I went from one screen back to this screen and they changed it that quick. But they still are there. Who applied to people like the ancient Egyptians and other groups in the region, often in a way that supported notions of racial hierarchy and colonialism. The term is now considered to be a product of now outdated model for racial division. It's not outdated. You just be lying. Origin, the term was borrowed from the biblical book of Genesis, where Ham is one of Noah's sons. How are you going to get rid of, if that's outdated, how are you going to get rid of Noah's sons that's in the earth? That was on the ark after the flood. Like Nimrod people. The MORs. The help you line up for. Application, European anthropologists used to describe a group of people in northern and Horn of Africa, perceived as having shared physical and cultural traits, particularly those involved in cattle herding. Oh, cattle slavery, you helped them. See how they threw that in on against the real people of God? Cattle herding. Treat our people like cattle with the Europeans. Discrediting the Hamite hypothesis was used to promote theories of racial superiority, justify colonial practices. Its use has been associated with genocidal propaganda, such as during the Rwanda genocide, by creating false racial distinction between groups. Current status, the concept of Hamites as a distinct racial group is no longer used by scientists. Well, they don't change God's word. Recognize the relic of flawed racial theories developed to support colonialism. That's why you don't use the science, you want to use it, because it points you out as the culprits. And you can't change the true story of history, not your story. See, these people, that's why they make themselves naked. God already knew that. Why? They can't help themselves a lot. And they try to cover another lie. What do you say when you cover another lie? You tell more lies, you can't cover that up. See, this make you a thin liar. Make yourself naked, like scripture says. I remember making videos, you lying, you changing stuff in the process while I'm reading stuff. Sitting behind the computer on the internet. While I'm on the computer making videos live, and y'all changing AI as I speak. To try to cover up lies as I prove you're lying. Genesis 10, 1-5, King James Version. Now these are the generations of sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So how you rid of Ham? To them were born sons after the flood. The sons of Japheth, that's the deceiver. Gomer, Magog, and Madai, and Javan, Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus. Sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rabbah, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, the Romans. Esau and Japheth make up the Romans, but they the key parts in it because that's actually his sons, his grandsons from Japheth. And the Donald. But these are the isles of the Gentiles dividing their lands. Everyone of their lying tongue, after their lying families, and their lying nations. It don't actually say it in the scripture, but you lying. So I put it in there. I ain't lying. I overuse the two once again. Oh yeah, let me before I get there, before I get there. One word to terrorist, page 77. The American Negro is the Indian, or MUR. Is the oldest man on earth, and the oldest chromosome on earth. It was found in a man from South Carolina, unrelated to any African lineages. Using AI overuse the tool, the term MOR, before I use there, let me go here. Webster Dictionary. Capital MOOR, noun, GR, dark, obscure. A native of northern coast of Africa, called by the Romans from the color of the people. Mauritania, the country of dark complexion people, the same country now called Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, etc. They called by the name. They called by the Romans. And Howard said, "If my people were called by my name." Not by the Romans. They're still playing games, trying to freeze screens and stuff like that. No problem. Right, I done put everything I said. I don't have to play that game, and they just playing games with themselves because they find it fascinating to them. But they already done lost. The war is over. They done lost already. Second Chronicles 7:14. Seven 14 through 15. If my people are called by my name, humble themselves and pray and seek and crave and require of necessity of my face. Require was mine by necessity, they must give me. I done proven law and evidence. And they confess to it, they gotta do it. And turn from their evil and wicked ways, then I will hear them from heaven. I forgive their sin, heal their land. Now all my eyes will open, my ears attentive, and prayers offered in this place. The royal King David restored the true church, not made with their hands. They're in their filthy ways. They lying ways. UNAI overuses too. The term MOR primarily refers to the diverse Muslim population created by the Catholics, the Vatican, or religion. The Vatican, religion. predominantly North African Berbers and Arabs, who invaded and ruled parts of Iberian Peninsula starting in 711 CE. They originated from the Romans term for the indigenous people of the ancient Roman province of Mauritania and North Africa. See, they're indigenous, but not to America. They the ones that go to Africa, from Africa, so they try to make you them, and have you like Cosby Bay tell you that you Moors from Africa, get you sent back to Africa, they can take America, which they got caught and lied. And later expanded to include other North African and eventually any dark skinned or Muslim people to Europeans. And later expanded to include other North Africans, eventually any dark skinned or Muslim people to Europeans. That means black people to Europeans. White people. That's why you see you have the Europeans with red fezzes on their head too, just like they do. Freemasons. Origin, the word Moor, M-O-R, comes from the Latin Moris. First, the people of Mauritania, a region is what is now called North Africa, especially parts of modern-day Morocco or Algeria. That's why I told you left from Morocco, retirees, and I get the money in the credit. Why? Because I'm an American Israelite. That's on the record, filed, sealed, and delivered on record, praise be record. They can't get, in no way can confuse me with a Moroccan. I'm already at home. I'm the home of, he said, the Morocco, the Melchizedek priesthood and the Erkadah is the home of the Israelites. I am the home of the Israelites for all this knowledge. Who they were. Historically, the term M-O-R was used for the Muslim inhabitants of Islamic Spain. I smell a dirty rat. And they confessed that the Vatican created Islam. Wow, that's what's called the Vatican religion. World religion, the whore of the earth. Al and Dallas were primarily of North African, Berber, and Arab descent. Later usage. Over time, especially in medieval Europe, M-O-R was used more broadly to refer to any dark skin of Muslim person, leading to a wider and sometimes confused definition of the term. Wow. It represents black people and you turn the term white people, but no Israelites. Israelites are the immutable. They rule the world, not the immortals. Y'all said motherfuckers on purpose, not these on the Lord. What are you talking about right here? It said you add out the two to claim that Christopher Columbus was a Spanish M-O-R is false. Now they lying. That's why you got to use AI as a tool, not the source. Why? Because you got liars that will write anything in AI to try to confuse you. Remember, black is a misnomer, right? Okay. Page 75. Black people are indigenous to the Americas. Who is that? Now, black people is a misnomer. The American Israelites are indigenous to America, not the M-O-R. They're indigenous to Africa, including the Europeans. It said black Native Americans. No, these are American Israelites, and black is a misnomer. Are not the result of the so-called red Indians mixing with slaves. The so-called red Indian comes from a mixing with European colonists and the Asians that were in America before Columbus? No, they weren't here either. But they are a result of colonists mixed with Asians, Caucasians. They paid $5 and cursed themselves. Look at this. See, even the author of this book, James, I believe, I'm trying to show he's a Freemason. But he said you got to study, show, so prove in the beginning of this book. You can't just read any book and believe it's true. You got to, the scripture is the truth. That's why it's the source. I always use everything else for a tool. But first, I measure against Yahweh is the truth. If you don't measure up to him, which is the truth, it's a lie. Or the history of Mongolian, 738 adjective pertaining to Mongols. Language of the Mongols, 1846, native of Mongolia. As racial classification for Asiatic peoples, including Chinese, Japanese, Turks, Vietnam, Laps, Eskimos, etc., belong to the yellow-skinned, straight-haired type of mankind. Then they're humans, they're not mankind. Mongol, 738, now one of the people of Mongolia, a distant region. So you can say you native, but you're not native to America. And you're really not native anywhere, because the native people are the Americans. Everywhere where they were taken, who are the Israelites. Mongoloid, as a racial designation, literally resembling the Mongols. Reference to the genetic defect causing mental retardation. Oh, that's why these motherfuckers go too. I'm over here doing stuff. I ain't talking people that really can't, it's really retarded. These are mentally retarded. I'm over here reading information to you, proving law and evidence, the changing stuff as I speak on using eyes or two. Like you can't catch on to that. And I'm showing you they doing. Mongolian in reference to a genetic defect causing mental retardation. Mongolism, 1899, from the typical facial appearance of those who have it. See, Down syndrome. So we call Mongolian from 1866. Samoyed, Siberian Mongolian people, from Russian Samoyed, traditionally literally, self-eaters. Caucasian, Frederick Blumenbach, who is the pioneering treatise, in his pioneering treatise of anthropology, distinguished mankind into 5 races. No, there's only one mankind, that's the Israelite. Everybody else is monsters, human. Oriental, of the Orient, from the East. Eastern, of belonging to the East. Tartar, Bactric to Potish. Why did I read that? Because I'm going to read it. Page 75, moves the black. The American Israelites are indigenous to the Americans. The American Israelites are not a result of the so-called red Indian mixing with slaves. The so-called red Indian comes from mixing with European and colonists and Asians. The first Native Americans were Mongolian Tartarians. Oh, retarded motherfucker? Lying motherfucker. Little motherfuckers right here down. So that's for God put them people in America. Talking about that's Israel. Motherfucker. You lying motherfuckers. Melville Herskovitz never had any historical, archaeological, or anthropological proof that black people of Americans ever derived from West and North Africa. Because we didn't, motherfucker. We ain't black. I'm American Israelite. And also, Joe Trout, even black is a misnomer, and it's a byword, and it means out of darkness, like you, motherfucker. Go. Consequently, Herskovitz crafted the theory that blacks arrived in America from transatlantic slave trade. Well, first of all, black is a known as a byword, but it still proves that who we are and who we're not, but who you're not. Which literally brought in more than 10 million African slaves. And we don't come from Africa. You motherfuckers came over here with the Europeans to colonize the American Israelites, who were known back then as Indians. This is a misnomer. Black is a byword. According to the National Archives of Spain and Smithsonian records, there was no evidence to prove that 70,000 ships with black Africans ever sailed to America. Morville carried out the teachings of his mentor Franz Boas to make the original copper color races of the Americans inferior, and the European presence superior. See, it was the fixers. They don't think God was looking back and watching the whole time, saying, "These some stupid, retarded motherfuckers." He said, "These motherfuckers got my children to come out to motherfuckers." Yeah, I'm clowning you, you're lying motherfuckers. Get mad, I don't give a fuck. You shouldn't be lying. To make the original copper color races of the Americans inferior and the European presence superior. Before this time, blacks coming from Africa through the transatlantic slave trade story never existed. Wow, the blacks are the Africans, the MORs. As a result, Melville's work has been fragmented and used as a propaganda by writers like Harold Corlander, Alex Haley. That's why they gave that movie Roots. So they beat the fixers, and then they got black and white motherfuckers. And you can say, because you say they're black, you can believe them. That's a lie motherfucker too. And fuck him too. Which further perverted the myth of transatlantic slave trade through the hit movie Roots. America were Israelites, people called MURs, I'm correct. They were not brought here on ships. Instead, they were enslaved right here on their own land. Yeah, when you be lying around me, I'm gonna clown you with shit. Motherfucker, know about some motherfucking Mongols around the motherfucker. Come on, this is America. Motherfucker. Still portion 85 and 21. And now I, Moroni, have great call to sue your bitch ass. It's already said. Because of those things which I read concerning these things which shall come to pass among the Lamanites that was already here, the American Israelites. Also among the people of dark skin who shall be brought to this promised land in chains, they might have served the lust of these greedy, rich, lying motherfuckers. They stole everything. These retarded Mongols and European Mongols. Doctrine and Covenants chapter 57 and 4 on them. Wherefore it is wisdom that the land should be purchased by the saints. It's already been purchased in blood. Our ancestors and Yahweh's atonement. Also every track line westward, even if the line run directly between the Jew and the Gentile, i.e. by matrimony, Jew here refers to the Lamanites, meaning Israelites, and Gentile to the white settlers. Also, every tract bordering by the prairies, and as much as my disciples are unable to buy the lands, giving back to probate. Even when you bought houses and they was in foreclosure, that was a scheme, and they got to get that back too through probate. There's already foreclosed on before they gave it to you. That's part of their scam. Behold, this is wisdom. They may obtain it for an everlasting inheritance. Let my son stand in the office to which I've appointed them to receive monies, to be an agent to the church, Sion Maoin. And I'm included, been given back from probate by necessity. The reason around as much as it can be done in righteousness, as wisdom shall direct the word of God. Wisdom of Solomon 7:28. For God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. And his wisdom proved that they get everything back by probate right now. The word of God. Still portion 90 and 41. And all food and raiment and houses shall become free to all in Zion. The children of Israel that repents. Called by the Father, and they're not called by the Romans. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, still portion 90 and 50, call upon these rich devils that stole everything. I mean, request it in righteousness, and already have. And the corporations that have power over you, meaning they had everything in their power, meaning they stole it. But now they got to give it back. That's what they mean. They ain't got no power over it. They have everything in their possession. But it's not theirs, it's mine, it's yours. And I prove they got to give it back now. And demand of them in righteousness. Or here's your righteousness is now. Character being righteous, purity of heart, rectitude of life, the being and doing right, conformity in character and conduct to right standard, to a right standard, alteration, rightwise, justice, divine or moral law, righteousness. Blessed are they which hunger and thirst after righteousness. King James Version has, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, Matthew 5 and 6. Righteous adjective, earlier 16th century alteration of the older word, rightwise, of actions, class action lawsuit settled. Characterized by justice, morally right, of persons just, upright, sinless, conform to divine law, came by divine providence. Wise, way, manner, wise, courteous, those who are righteous, the meaning genuine and excellent, upright, justice is a noun. The exercise of authority and vindication of right by assigning reward or a punishment. Also qualifying of being fair and just, moral soundness, conformity to truth, justice, legal rights, jurisdiction, righteousness, just. Justice is the end of the government, is the end of civil society. It ever has been and ever will be punished, pursued until it is be obtained, or until liberty be lost in pursuit, though it's been obtained. The rest is one. Meaning right order, equity. Rewarding to everyone of that which is his due, or her due, in silent now. That's what the word of God says. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, call upon them and request what's due. I already have. It's already been settled. And demanded them in righteousness. They have no choice but to do it. Right now. Vindication of right, court of justice, judge. We already know it's talking about not getting hands in court. But I was looking for another word. This is due, but I'm still looking for another word. Isaiah 54, 11 through 17. Afflicted city, storm battered, unpitied. I'm about to rebuild you with stones of Tarsus. Lay your foundation with sapphires. Structure your towers with rubies. The gates will be with jewels. Your walls with precious stones. All your children have God for their teacher, or the mentor for your children. Be built solid, grounded in righteousness. Request in righteousness. That's why it's built solid and grounded in righteousness. They got to do it right now. Far from any trouble, none to fear. Far from terror, when they come close. Anyone that attacks you, don't for a moment suppose I sent them. If any should attack you, nothing will come of it. I create the blacksmith who fires up his forge and make the weapon designed to kill. Also create the destroyer, and the weapon that can hurt you has ever been forged. Any accuser who takes you to court will be dismissed as a liar. And it's already dismissed, they can't be heard. This is what God, the God's sons and daughters can expect. I see to it that everything works out for the best. God's decree. I'm gonna read this book right here. Of course, you know black is a byword, it's a misnomer. It said black people are indigenous to the Americas. Research material for Inquisitive by Kimler R. Norton. Black is a misnomer and a byword. But yes, it's still talking who they showing who they talking about, who they not talking about. Okay, I think let me see. This is Isaiah 54:17 expanded Bible. So the weapon that is used force against you will defeat you, to succeed. You will show that those who speak against you are wrong. Refute every accusation against you. Refute every tongue that rises against you in judgment court. These are the good things, heritage my sons and daughters receive. Their victory, vindication, and righteousness come from me, says Yahweh. Page 75, moving black people, American Israelites, indigenous to the Americas. American Indians, page 75 to I stop. Indian misnomer, American Israelites. A variety of descriptions and complexions for the Indians, the Israelites. Page 232 to 237. A general description of the Indian tells us that the Aborigines of America is tall, straight of stature, and muscular, having coarse hair, black hair, well-formed limbs. Well, let me put that in perspective. I'm about 5'10" to 5'11", something like that, stretching. But I heard one time that this lady that hung around Princeton, and Princeton was midgets, right? And I'm just clown. It's like 5'2", and Cat was like about 5'3", something like that. She said Michael Jackson was tall. He's a 5'10". Putting that in perspective. You know, he was an Israelite. A lot of these Spaniards are short. A general description of the Indian tells us that the Aboriginal of America is tall, straight of stature, and muscular, having coarse black hair, well-formed limbs, and deep chest brown or copper-colored complexion. Head a little flat, prominent nose, compressed lips, dark eyes, and possessed of a great power of endurance. In regard to the complexion of the American Indian, even though I'm saying Indian because it was written there, but it's really Israelite. Father Trollobach says, the color of the savage does not prove a third species between the white and the black. See, they be eating these insults. And some people have, these are motherfucking retarded motherfuckers, right? Back then, markers, and they call somebody a savage. These motherfucking monsters around this motherfucker. Somebody savage. In regard to the complexion of the American Indian, that's an Israelite. So Father Trollerbach says that color of the savages does not prove a third species between the white and the black, as some people have imagined. They're very swarthy and of a dirty, dark red. That's called Indian red, of the dirt, the ground, the earth, not redneck, and like as in pale face, which appear more in Florida, of which Louisiana is a part. This is not their natural complexion. The frequent friction they use give them this red. It's surprising that they are not blacker, being continually exposed to the smoke in the winter, the great heats of the sun in summer, in all seasons, to all the inclemencies of the air. In stature, some of the tribes are much above the ordinary height of men, while others are below this standard. In the average, however, they do not differ essentially from people of their own race. They are generally less in girth and lighter in their limbs, and most entirely free from corpulency of useless flesh, with here and there exceptions. And by the way, you gotta remember, Noah had lighter eyes than mine. He was albino. And my eyes ain't that light compared to them. They can get that light because when the Holy Spirit is on me, my eyes have got lighter as the sun. As in the case of some tribes of our Rockies, IROQUIS, and Ottawas of the Algonquin group, their bones are lighter, their skulls thinner, and their muscles less hard than our own race. But the legs and feet, which are brought into more continual action by violent exercise, on foot or on horseback, which tend to swell the muscles, give them great strength in those limbs, are more fully developed. It does not follow that the Indian, because he is generally narrow in the shoulders, and less powerful with his arms than those of our own race, is as effeminate as his structure would indicate. Now you know that it's a lot of hate and lies too. Nor so wildly inferior in brachial strength as one would be led to suppose from the smooth and rounded appearance of his limbs. The habits and customs of the Indian are such that his limbs, which are for the most part on the war path or engaged in hunting, denuded and exposed to the air, or in exercise most of his life, whereby his muscles become enveloped by a thicker and more compacted layer of integuments which hide them from the view, leaving the casual observer to suppose them more inferior in muscular strength than the people of our own race. On this subject, Mr. Catlin says, of muscular strength in the legs, I've met many of the most extraordinary instances in the Indian country that ever I have seen in my life. I've watched and studied such for hours together. Other surprise and admiration. Oh, you ain't getting none of his ass no more. Keep your eyes to yourself, you filthy animal. You get to watch them. You get to drool. I was thinking about that. I was watching something one time. Oh yeah, I made a video about they back in slavery times. When they really was doing, just doing what they're doing no more. He's I'm gonna teach this motherfucker a lesson. Said that boy right there. I'm gonna teach him a lesson. Why did your zipper go down and your pants came down? You gotta watch them motherfuckers be staring at you like that. These filthy motherfuckers. Somebody gonna teach them a lesson. Muscle strength in the legs. I've met many of the most extraordinary instances in the Indian country that I've ever seen in my life. I've watched and studied such for hours together, with utter surprise and admiration in the bodily exertion of their dances, where they leap and jump with every nerve strong and every muscle swelled. And you watch that for hours? With surprise and admiration. To their legs often look as a bundle of ropes rather than a mass of human flesh. God and created. That's you wicked motherfucker. All that I've seen, I'm inclined to say that whatever difference there may be between the North American Indians and their civilized neighbors, the above respects, they're decidedly the result of different habits of life and modes of education, rather than any difference in constitution. And I would also venture to the assertion that he would see the Indian in the condition to judge of his muscles. I mean, one time I went somewhere. As a matter of fact, this is when I was trying to get a job back in the day when I was younger. And I was, muscular, more than muscular I am now. This motherfucker was examining me, like the pen, touching my, it's going like the pen. I'm not lying. These motherfuckers is fascinating. Would see the Indian in the condition to judge of his muscles. Must he see him in motion? He would get a perfect study of a Hercules or Atlas to take a stone mason for the upper part of his figure, and a Comanche and a Blackfoot Indian from the waist downwards to the feet. Mr. Callan further remarks that there is a general and striking character in the facial outlines of the North American Indians, which is bold and free, which is seen to mark them as distinguished from natives of other parts of the world. Their noses are generally prominent and aquiline, and the face would seem to approach the bold European character. Many travelers describing the American Indian represents the eyes as being smaller than those people of our own race. This has arisen from mere casual observation rather than from close inquiry. This want of expansion and apparent smallness of the eyes in Indians has been found upon examination to be principally the effect of continually exposure to the wind and rays of the sun. The absence of some protecting shield generally adopted by civilized people added to this another cause, having an influence in the direction aforesaid, of the smoke constantly hanging about their wigwams, which necessarily contracts the lids of the eyes, which much is contrast with that full flame and expansion of the eye. molded under the circumstances of the cool and clear shades, which our own inhabitants are calculated to promote. The teeth of the Indian are generally regular and sound, usually remaining wonderfully reserved in old age. This is largely attributed to the fact that their food is without spices, saturated or salt, which are considered destructive to the teeth. Their teeth, though sound, are not actually white, but have yellowish cast. They ever look whiter than they really are, for the contrast with copper or darker color of the skin. It's been noted that the true type of the American Indian is found without beard upon his face. That's a lie. Beard they consider a vulgarity, use every means. See, they get information from Europeans. Upon signs of his appearance, it removes it. Since these people were first known to the white Indian authorities who have been at variance on this subject, they get in the $5 Indians. There still remains on an unsatisfied curiosity. There being much dispute among those who have given it attention as to whether Indians naturally have beards or not. The writer is assured by an intelligent, educated Indian of the Flathead Nation, the Indians, at least those of his nation, were naturally inclined to have beards, though to a very limited extent. This Indian himself had a light scattering beard. He said it was a custom among his people in their native conditions to keep the beard plucked out by means of a sort of tweezers constructed for that purpose. When asked the reason for this custom, he replied was that Indians, like white men, desired always to appear young. Therefore, it took great pains to keep constantly eradicated any show of the growth of a beard. Mr. Callan says that from the best information he could obtain from the 48 tribes which he visited, well, there's only 12 tribes, so how you get that many? Most of them are in Israelites. So far as the wild tribes among them were concerned, and where they had made no effort to imitate the white man, at least a proportion of 18 out of the 20 were by nature entirely without the appearance of a beard. No, that's first of all, I think it's the commandments of God. There's only 12 tribes. And there's very few had them, and naturally 19 out of the 20 eradicated them by plugging out several times in a succession, precisely at the age of puberty, when the growth was successfully arrested. Sometimes this process, from carelessness or inclination, was neglected or omitted. When the beard was thus allowed to grow, will reach the length of an inch or two, in which case it was generally very soft and exceedingly sparse. Whenever there was a cross of blood with the European or African, which occasionally occurred on the frontier, a proportionate beard would be the result. If plucked out, in such case, it would be with much toil and great pain. Exceptions are found to this aversion to beards among some of the northwestern tribes on the Pacific coast, inhabiting in Alaska and Washington territory, where slight mustache is not infrequent and a full beard is quite common. The foregoing description, as applied to the Indian in general, implies conformity indeed. However, facts, as they do appear, prove as much diversity among the Indian nations exists in the Mongolian and Caucasian race. These not Israelites, not Indian. This is made further apparent by reference to particular tribes in various parts of the continent. The Mandans would have the regions of the upper Missouri, remarkable for their face complexion, blue eyes, and lack of prowess, and the wars and endurance and toil. See, all men are of tribes, you just not the 12 tribes of Israel. The Iraqis differed in their physical characteristics in some respects from other tribes of the continent. The separate tribes of this nation differed. Also among themselves, the Moabs, in their physical structure and appearance, differed essentially from the Senecas of the same group. The former was rather thick-set, stout-built people of phlegmatic temperament, whilst the Sencas were more slight, with countenance not so full, but more mild, indicating a higher order of intelligence. I know that picture's like Bill. These people on the Ottawas of the eloquent group, also thick-set in their build, inclining somewhat to a corpulency and are in stature, but a medium height. The Menominee of the same group are in the marked contrast with all the other tribes of that group, their skin being of a much lighter copper color. They're of a very mild disposition and not inclined to warlike, essentially differing in foregoing characteristics from their neighbors. The Oboes of the same stock, who speak the same language, thus presenting an anomaly under circumstances which has never been accounted for. The Dakota, or the Sioux Indians, are described as the finest specimens of physical humanity ever known among the primitive people. Their mental faculties are of a high order. Their spirit and arrogant natures find expression in their war songs, indicating their determined character. The Utes are mountain Indians, but likewise arrogant, brave, and aggressive. They have a much darker complexion than the Sioux. Keen eyes are full of size and almost superhuman power and endurance. In regard to complexion, the fact is noted that the natives of equatorial region are not darker than those of the mountains of the temperate zone. Off the southwest coast of California is the beautiful islands of St. Catherine. Natives of this island are of a ruddy complexion, and red and white blending with beautiful effect. Whilst the tribes of the adjacent mainland of the same latitude are dark complexion and are cinnamon colored. The older people of the Cherokee are described as an olive complexion, while the young girls are fair as the daughters of the white race. The Choctaws of the Appalachian group, that's America, have rounded features, their cheekbones being less prominent than are those of the Indians of the plains. The eyes are large, well, that's talking about me, right? Oval and brilliant, and though not blue, have the mild oppression that pertains to that of color. That color. What's that? If it's not blue, it's gonna be hazel. From brown to hazel. They're enduring, patient people. The Shawnees of the eloquent group are not broad-chested like the Choctaws. I remember my Uncle Melvin used to tell me all the time. He said, you know, your pops, man, he said, you know, your pops was kind of a little 60, man, but you got that from us. So your shoulders look broad, chest look broad. Like my daddy, Big Melvin. The Shawnees of the eloquent group are not broad-chested like the Choctaws. They are above medium height and are rather inclined to an active life, can endure the fatigue of the hunt, and accomplish tedious journeys without abatement of the physical figure. The kawas are lank, lean, and long. Their shoulders are broad, limbs muscular, complexion lighter than most of the neighboring tribes. Eye small, piercing black, with faintest expression. Among the California Indians, considered by some ethnologists a different race from other groups of the continent, a very great diversity exists. The tribes in Northern California are much superior to those central or southern portions. The men are large and muscular, have great force and energy of character. They have somewhat regular features, notable expression and intelligence. A writer in an Eastern magazine has described the women as well formed, of small features and terms heads and feet, with turned heads and feet, graceful in their movement, intelligent, with a hazel complexion, bright black eyes and oval faces. They have large claims to beauty. The California natives present a greater diversity of tribal relations, conditions than the other Aboriginal nations. The Shoshanes of the southern section of California are medium stature, powerful build, coarse features, dark bronze color, and indolent. These are more widely known as the Digger Indians, are safely classed as the lowest type of humanity on the American continent. A tribe of Indians of Shoshanes stock formerly inhabiting the country of the vicinity of Columbia River, were commonly called flatheads. They're noted from the peculiar shape of their heads, produced, however, by artificial means. The foreheads were flat and pressed back, whereby the tops of their heads became lifted. This was done in earlier childhood by applying a board or some hard or heavy substance, as that of a mass of clay, to the forehead, with other board or hard substance at the back of the head, and then by a continual pressure upon the forehead for a sufficient time. The child grew in years, and he desired the result of a flattening of the forehead was produced. I'm laughing at how these Europeans be doing stuff, man. These are like, damn, look at that. And they, as a matter of fact, they'll see what they see, and they can still go to another European and say, "What do you think about that?" I think, even though I see it, I think this is really what's going on. Be lying. And then by continual pressure upon the forehead for sufficient time as the child grew in years, the desired result of flattening the forehead was produced. Man, I'm just saying, who can sit around? I mean, I'm talking the mind of a European. No child was allowed to escape this process. This became, by artificial means, a universal physical characteristic with that people. The origin or reason for this singular custom is not accounted for. That the hair of the American Indian is coarse is no doubt owing to the care and dressing it receives and to climatic influences. One peculiar feature of the hair is that in all tribes, the filament is round. There are no exceptions. In the Mongol race, each hair is oval, while the Caucasian is elliptical. See, they mix in all people, but it's only Israelites that's got from God. In his image. In general, every Indian is a perfect form of a man. Captain Marcy, in his report of the Secretary of War concerning his exploring expedition of the country of the Red River of of the South. Says an Indian of that country. I've never seen an idiot or one that was naturally deformed among them. Or guess he ain't one of these mongrel mothers. Now that he's totally, we had no people around like that. The physical characteristics of Indian women in their native condition are thus described as jocund in his New England Rarities published in London, 1672. He says that all of them are black-eyed, having even short teeth, and very white. The hair black, thick and long, broad-breasted, handsome, straight bodies, and slender. Considering their constant loose habits, clothing, their limbs cleanly, straight, and of a covenant stature, generally as plump as partridges. And saving here and there one of a modest deportment. Citations. Haynes, Elijah M., the American Indian, Nish in Na Ba, Chicago, Massing Na Gang, 1888. The American Indian, Nish in Na Ba, PDF, web, books.google.com, pages 232 to 237. They talk the Mayas. The Mayas are tiny. But I was reading about the California Indians. And only California Indians are Israelites. Them other people you're talking about is not Israelites. Talking about Europeans and Mongols. That's the truth. Your AIs are true. Mayan refers to the Maya people in the ancient Mesoamerican civilization, known for its advancement in architecture, astronomy, and writing. In contrast, Mayate is a highly offensive and derogatory slang term used in some Spanish-speaking contexts, particularly in Mexico and the U.S. Southwest, as a racial slur for a black person, a slur for a gay man. Mayate literally means, the word mayate comes from the Nahuatl word mayato, which literally means fig eater, beetle, or June bug. Slang derogatory usage. In the contemporary Mexican and Spanish slang, it is a severe ethnic and homophobic slur. It is used as a racial slur for black people, drawing an offensive comparison to the dark color of a beetle. Also used as a slur for a gay man or a male prostitute. This term is considered highly offensive and inappropriate. In most contexts, there is no cultural or linguistic connection between the Maya civilization or origin and meaning of the target slang word mayate. But that's what you're talking about, the Maya, who are the Israelites, who you call black people. Why, if you the Mayans, why you make up that slang? Because you're not that people. Seal portion 81 and 41, but again, it was not so. I've shown you that the records of my fathers have come forth unto Joseph. He should translate the part which is unsealed to the published to the world. So all might know the work of their Father was wrought upon the land of Eden, which is this promised land. It should be called in the latter days the United States of America, Turtle Island, the Garden of Eden. The book of Remembrance of Enoch, the same book of Haggai, chapter 5, verse 69. And look at Yasakar, he said, which is the original name of Adam. You now change the meaning of the earth. Now it's your task to dress and keep all the hosts of living souls here. Yours is named Eden. Your world is named Eden. United States, Turtle Island, America, not the United States of Satan. Still portion 31 and 5, and this shall be the final opportunity for Satan to show unto the children of God that his plan can bring happiness and joy to those who follow him. Give him the glory that he seeks. And this great nation will be known as the United States, the corporation, not America, known as Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, City of London Corporation. And this great nation will be known as the United States, for they shall be united in their desire to worship Satan. And his image is because their works are weak. Bye, motherfucker.